that I'm also getting married next year as well, so a honeymoon fund.
Huge congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. There we are. Right, now, Deb and Sam, very best of luck. Your first answer was Phil Dunster. In all three cases, we're looking for actors in 2 or more episodes of Ted Lasso. You have gone for Phil Dunster as your first answer. Let's find out how many people said it. If it's pointless, £3,500 will be yours. Well, Phil Dunster is right. You weren't sure if it was right.
No, I wasn't.
And it is. This bodes well. Let's hope Phil Dunster takes it all the way down to the bottom and you leave her with £3,500. We're in single figures, still going down, still going... Oh, 2. 2 for Phil Dunster. OK, let's turn our attention now to Cristo Fernandez. How many of our 100 people said Cristo Fernandez? Might Cristo be pointless? Well, Phil Dunster was so nearly pointless. 2. However, Cristo Fernandez is still taking us down through the 20s. Through the teens, £3,500. Let us not forget is riding on this. Still going down, still going. You have done it! Look at that, very well done indeed. Hard runs in Japan. Very well done indeed. That was a pointless answer. You have just won the jackpot of £3,500. Super.
Well done. I can also tell you that Lloyd Griffiths was also a pointless answer, so very well done. You really know your Ted Lasso.
It was a fortunate topic.
Sure.
Big fans.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at some more of the pointless answers. You could have Anthony Head of Buffy fame as well. Billy Harris, Fleur East was in More Than. So a pointless answer. In fact, everyone was pointless apart from the following, who all scored points. Hannah Waddingham, she is amazing. Jason Sudeikis, obviously Ted Lasso. Juno Temple, Brendan Hunt, Brett Goldstein, Phil Dunster, who you said, Jeremy Swift and Nick Mohammed. Moving on to AFC Richmond squad members on FIFA 23. Here are some of the pointless answers you could. Monlaw, Sam Obisanya or Thierry Zorro. And the only scoring answers here were Jamie Tart, Roy Kent, Danny Rojas, Ash Dixon, Colin Hughes, Jan Mas and Max Zava. Well done at home if you got a pointless answer in that round. Good round.
Thank you very much indeed. And thanks once again to our winning players, Deb and Sam, who take away today's jackpot of £3,500. Join us next time when we'll be putting more obscure knowledge to the test on Pointless. Meanwhile, it's goodbye from Rob.
Bye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.
What comes to mind? And who trolled Amber? And with Europe turned into one giant board game, Destination X is your new reality obsession on iPlayer. It also continues tonight at 9 here on BBC One.
The father rounds up his family, but that does little to deter the dogs. So he makes an extraordinary sacrifice. He hangs back. A journey like no other parenthood.
Starts Sunday at 7:20 on BBC One and iPlayer.
This is our BBC. Planets through a telescope.
Space!
Truth under a microscope.
This was an extraordinary, unprecedented attack.
Hard facts.
You can say anything to anyone, anytime and anywhere, all right?
Hard questions.
Tell me what you're doing over here. You're just relaxing.
Soft hugs. Over 2 billion rays. Faithfuls. Traitors. Clever kids. Hangry dads. Alpha mums. Drums. Bangers and absolute bangers. Explosions, conductors, disruptors, fact-checking, fake chickens, foxtrots, death drops, top of your lungs, tears in your eyes, a doorway through time and building our future.
The BBC's put £5 billion into the economy.
All voices under one roof. There's a BBC for each of us, funded by all of us. This is our BBC.
I don't know who edits this, but that's going to have to do.
Welcome to a game where nowhere is as it seems. 13 players and one dashing host. Take a mind-melting trip across Europe.
Rob's game is tough.
Insane. I have never seen anything like that before.
The question is, where the X am I?
This game. It's killing
me!
Trust nowhere. Brand new Destination X continues tonight at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Now on BBC One, the news at 6 with Sophie Rayworth. Tonight at 6, a 76-year-old man is arrested on suspicion of administering poison at a children's summer camp. 8 children were taken to hospital on Monday after feeling unwell in Leicestershire.
To enjoy holiday camps for years, and which is now at the heart of a major police investigation.
Also tonight, more than 25,000 migrants have already crossed the Channel in small boats in the first 7 months of this year, a new record. Russia launches an intense wave of strikes on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, just days after President Trump told President Putin to agree to a ceasefire. The mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor loses his appeal against a finding that he sexually assaulted a woman. And the nationwide hunt for a herd of Shetland ponies that have disappeared from the New Forest in Hampshire.
Also this evening, from shoplifting to phone theft, London's police commissioner promises to tackle our crime hotspots. But how will it work with fewer officers?
Good evening. A 76-year-old man has been ill at a summer camp in Leicestershire. Police and paramedics were called to the camp in the village of Stathern on Sunday. Those children, taken to hospital as a precaution, have since been discharged. Our Midlands correspondent Navtej Johal has the latest.
A rural retreat that for years has hosted children's holiday camps. Now it's the centre of a major police investigation. On Sunday, police received a report of several children feeling unwell here at Stathern Lodge near Melton Mowbray. 8 children were taken to hospital as a precaution. They've all now been discharged. Officers have arrested a 76-year-old man on suspicion of administering poison or a noxious substance with intent to injure or aggrieve or annoy. He remains in custody.
This is a complex and sensitive investigation, and we do understand the concern that it will have caused. Please be reassured that we have dedicated resources deployed and continue to work with a number of partner agencies as part of our response.
Police wouldn't confirm any further details about the children or the suspect. The news of this incident has shocked people living around this tiny Leicestershire village.
I heard it about an hour ago, and isn't it? You think, I walk past here quite a lot into that field to take my dog on a walk, and it just, you don't expect something like that to happen, do you? And I was quite shocked when I first saw it, yeah.
A church leader who's been coming here with worshippers, including children, for years for holiday camps, told us today's news was horrific and that they would re-evaluate their plans after expecting to host a retreat here next week. But plenty of questions remain about exactly what happened here on Sunday. Now, Leicestershire Police has said that it has referred itself to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC. All they said in their statement was that that was due to the circumstances of the initial response. The IOPC has said that there was a delay in the force's response to get here. I've since had it confirmed by Leicestershire Police that although they received the initial report of children feeling unwell here on Sunday, they didn't actually turn up to the location until Monday, a day later. And we'll wait to see what, if anything, the IOPC has to say about why that happened.
Navtej, thank you. More than 25,000 migrants have already crossed the Channel in small boats this year, the highest number to attempt the crossing by this point in the year. Almost 900 came across from France yesterday alone. Daniel Sanford is here with the details. Daniel.
Yes, Sophie, more evidence today that we might be heading for a record year for migrants crossing the English Channel in those dangerously overcrowded small boats. These are last year's figures, and you can see that the number passed 25,000 on the 22nd of September. And these are this year's figures so far, and today we reached the 25,436, passing that 25,000 mark almost 2 months earlier than last year. The number jumped substantially yesterday when 898 migrants made the crossing. In what was described as a chaotic day, both Border Force boats and lifeboats were involved in picking migrants up mid-channel and taking them to Dover. This picture of boats and outboard motors taken at a nearby storage facility gives you an idea of the scale of the crossings in recent weeks. On the busiest day of this year, the 31st of May, 19 made the journey. The government did have some success on Saturday when 25 boats of the kind used by people smugglers were seized in a lorry at the Turkey-Bulgaria border. The boats could have carried between 50 and 60 migrants each. They were seized as part of a national crime agency operation working with Bulgarian customs officers.
Will there be a deal on small boats today?
Earlier this month, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and the French President, Emmanuel Macron, agreed a pilot scheme in which some migrants who'd crossed the Channel leaves as it was leaving the beach because it was dangerously overcrowded. But unless things change dramatically in the next few months, it looks like this will be a record year, surpassing the 45,000 people who crossed in 2022. Though it's worth remembering, migration from small boat crossings makes up less than 10% of overall net migration. Sophie.
Daniel, thank you. Councils across Britain made seizures of illegal tobacco, cigarettes and vapes at more than 3,500 high street premises last year. But a Freedom of Information request made by the BBC has revealed that although many illegal items were found in convenience shops, fewer than 300 were temporarily shut down by local authorities. The government says it's determined to combat the problem and is putting more police into town centres. This report from our UK editor, Ed Thomas.
There on the right. He's there on the right there. Great. He's loitering, waiting for customers, going to the shop opposite, which we closed yesterday.
Welcome to the modern British High Street, where it seems everyone knows what's going on.
These days it's all vape shops, illegal tobacco shops and barber shops.
Loads and loads of places up there that are selling the illegal cigarettes, drugs.
Would you walk down there at night?
No. Oh my God.
No. What is he doing to this high street?
Killing it.
Here in Newport, trading standards showed us what they're up against.
A few months ago we closed this one for the second time.
For Steve, it's relentless.
Seized about 150,000 cigarettes in the flat above there.
How much is that worth?
Tens of thousands of pounds. Next door to that we've closed several times.
And it's still open?
Still open.
Is he still selling illegal cigarettes?
I believe so.
A high street tour.
Have a nice day.
Less than a mile long.
How many times have you closed this one? At least twice, possibly 3 times.
Most of the shops here, Steve says, are staffed by Iranian and Iraqi Kurds.
Are you okay?
Where I can get a key back, please.
The owner of this place
What's your name?
Alibaba.
wanted his keys back.
Did Steve close down your shop?
Yes, he's dangerous, man. He's doing his job, and we do our job.
Throughout the day, we witnessed the open sale of illegal cigarettes.
Stand here, you'll probably see a supply going on in the background.
We're told this shop has only just reopened after a 6-month closure order.
What do you think he handed over? Probably 2 lads that'll run back and forwards between shop and stash cars, bringing illegal tobacco to customers.
The runners?
Yeah, runners.
And that's their job?
Yeah, that's their job.
And living and working, surrounded by all this, is Errol.
I give a fortnight for them.
A Kurd from Turkey, he spent 26 years building up his legitimate business.
This country is my kids' country. My grandkids stay this country, you know. If this country is not strong, it's not good for future.
He's angry. He wants the illegal shops closed for good.
Customers say, I can't send my children to the pill. This is all criminal. And illegal tobacco. Sell cocaine, heroin, gun, everything. Woman, yes, everything destroyed.
And just before we left the high street here, one more sale.
The lady in the mobility scooter, she waited outside. The shop worker just walked out, handed over the packet of cigarettes and went back in.
From Newport, We move on to Swansea,
On trading standards.
and we're hearing the same stories.
What vapes you selling them?
This one.
Oh, right, the illegal ones, is it?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
How many times have you hit this shop?
At least a dozen.
A dozen times?
Yeah.
Here, they're tracking stash cars,
That car's got tobacco in it.
supplying illegal cigarettes across the city.
We took 2 cars 2 days ago, and when I opened one of the boots, all we could smell is cannabis. And what we find is it's used for tobacco in the day, drugs in the night. It is serious crime, and we're dealing with serious criminals. So we've seen you with the keys for a vehicle that's full of counterfeit goods, okay?
And then there's the immigration crime.
A lot of the asylum seekers are working in these vape shops, selling the tobacco, what we call runners back and forth to the cars, bringing the tobacco back and forth then to the shops and things like that.
Watching all this is Daniel.
It's everywhere. UK is just a magnet for everything, isn't it?
He grew up here, works here, and is seeing this again and again.
They've got watchers on the streets and everything.
How does that make you feel actually saying that?
Well, it doesn't make you feel safe. You're thinking about maybe going back to Hong Kong or...
Are you being serious?
Yeah. Dire straits, isn't it? The country at the moment, you know.
All this because of illegal cigarettes. And many here were too scared to speak out. One shop worker witnessed an acid attack. Another would only talk if we didn't show her face.
There's no control. Once one of them gets in, all the rest get in. They're dealing drugs.
Does this feel like your home, this high street now?
Not so much now, not like it used to, no.
Are there any more vapes hidden anywhere?
The crimes,
None in the floor upstairs?
changing lives and reshaping our high streets. Thomas, BBC News, South Wales.
The mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor has lost his appeal against the finding of a civil court jury that he sexually assaulted a woman in a Dublin hotel in 2018. In November, McGregor was ordered to pay more than £200,000 in damages and costs to the woman who accused him of rape. Our Ireland correspondent is Sarah Gervin. Tell us more.
Late last year, as you say, that civil jury at Dublin's High Court found that Conor McGregor had assaulted Nikita Han. Now, he had denied that. He denied her allegation of rape, claiming that the sex between them had been consensual. He then launched an appeal against that civil jury decision on several legal grounds. But today, a panel of 3 judges dismissed that appeal, in their words, in its entirety. And what that means is that jury decision from last year still stands. That award of more than £200,000 in damages still stands. And in fact, Ms. Hand was awarded more in legal costs at the appeal court today. Now, outside court, a very emotional Nikita Han said that this appeal had re-traumatised her over and over again. She said she now wanted to move on now and to heal. And she also appealed to survivors and victims of sexual abuse and sexual assaults to come forward, to tell their stories and to seek justice. Now, Conor McGregor was not in court here in Dublin today. We know that he often chooses to communicate publicly through his social media platforms, particularly on X. But today, so far, there has been no reaction from him on that decision here at the appeal court to dismiss his appeal in its entirety.
Sarah, thank you. At least 15 people are now known to have died and more than 140 were injured in Kyiv after Russia bombarded the Ukrainian capital with drones and missiles overnight. The attacks happened despite Donald Trump imposing a new deadline on President Putin to agree to a ceasefire in 10 days or face more sanctions. From Kyiv, here's our defence correspondent, Jonathan Beale.
Menacing hum of Russia's harbinger of havoc. Dozens of kamikaze drones flying over the capital in the early hours this morning. Some taken out by anti-aircraft fire. But others, along with Russian missiles, spreading their devastation and destruction. Not for the first time, but every attack shreds the nerves of a people who've already endured years of bombardment. Russia claims it only targets military sites, but once again, it's civilians who've borne the brunt of another assault from the air.
I tried to wake up my wife, but then there were explosions, and that was it. Our daughter is now in the hospital.
The building across their fate. This is so sad and horrible.
Several children were wounded. At this apartment block, a 6-year-old boy. The first major strikes on the capital, Kyiv, since President Trump gave a new deadline to President Putin to more sanctions. And this appears to be President Putin's answer.
Russia keeps launching such attacks even when the whole world is calling on it to stop the war. A war that Russia started, a war that Russia keeps dragging on.
And the war on the ground grinds on too. Russia claiming to have taken another town in the east. Ukraine insists its forces still cling on to Chasiv Yar. It's already clear more sanctions won't be enough to stop President Putin. Jonathan Beale, BBC News.
Time is just after 6:15. Our top story this evening. A 76-year-old man is arrested on suspicion of administering poison at a children's summer camp in Leicestershire. And coming up, India's captain runs straight into trouble on a rainy first day of the final test at the Oval.
And coming up on BBC London, concern for a mother missing after giving birth in an underpass. Police appeal to trace her. And the life-size London chippy serving fabric fish and chips.
The first child from Gaza to be treated in the UK for war injuries has arrived in London. The boy's family say his lower face was badly injured by a tank shell while he was out searching for food in February last year. He's been receiving treatment in Egypt for the past 5 months, but a visa from the Home Office and money from private donors has enabled him to travel to the UK. Caroline Hawley reports.
A welcome party at Heathrow Airport last night. The surgical mask covers his injured mouth and jaw. Asked him how he felt. I'm very happy, he told me. Why? I asked. Because I'll get treatment, he replies. This was Majd before the war, with his 3 little brothers. He used to love football and maths. And this is what's left now of Gaza City, his hometown, where he was injured in February last year. He showed us his scars from an explosion he says also killed one of his friends while they were out looking for food aid.
One of my friends helped me and took me to the hospital. They thought I was dead. I had to move my hand so they knew I was alive. They put me on a table and stitched my lip and put me on a breathing tube here for me too.
Now he's safe in central London. The function of his face, all funded by Project Pure Hope, the group that brought him here. Earlier this year, Rama and Rena arrived in the UK. Like Majd, they'd been evacuated first to Egypt. Both have lifelong conditions that couldn't be treated in Gaza because of the collapse of the healthcare system. Rena's already had laser surgery to prevent her losing her left eye, and Rama's had exploratory surgery for a serious bowel condition. Their mums see the improvement in both girls. But they and Rama are struggling inside.
Honestly, I'm not very happy here. My family is still there. They're hungry, so I don't want to eat either. I feel like I'm still there with them.
Majd finds it hard to eat for different reasons, one of thousands and thousands of children from Gaza with life-changing injuries. But he at least is safe, fed, and now has hope. Caroline Hawley, BBC News.
President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has held talks in Jerusalem with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try to salvage the stalled Gaza ceasefire talks. The meeting took place against the backdrop of increasing international outrage over the humanitarian situation in the territory. Well, Hugo Beshega is in Jerusalem. And how did those talks go?
Well, Sophie, we still don't have details of what's been discussed between Steve Witkoff and the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But obviously, as you say, this isolation and also growing anger over this man-made crisis in Gaza. And this is also happening in the United States, including among some of President Trump's supporters. In recent days, some influential voices inside the MAGA movement, which supports the president, have expressed their opposition to America's support for Israel amid images of starving children in Gaza. And some of these voices are even using the word genocide, which is obviously an accusation that Israel has strongly rejected. So this is an important factor here, as it seems that Gaza is again a priority for President Trump. Also on the agenda for Steve Witkoff, the stalled negotiations for a ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas. Earlier today here in Jerusalem, some families of the hostages held a protest outside the Prime Minister's office, urging him to strike a deal with Hamas. But for now, a deal seems elusive.
Hugo, thank you. At airports across the UK yesterday. The BBC understands that the air traffic control fault, which caused more than 150 flight cancellations and delayed many more flights, was related to problems with a radar display issue. Services have largely returned to normal, although 10 more flights from Heathrow were cancelled this morning. Simon Browning is there. So things are largely back to normal at what is a very busy time of the year.
Yeah, that's right, Sophie. Operations have actually come back to normal today here at Heathrow. You'll see planes coming up and leaving. But airlines have been working really hard today to make sure that those people that were disrupted yesterday breaking out between the airlines and the National Air Traffic Control Service about what happened. It started yesterday with Ryanair calling for the boss of National Air Traffic Control Service to resign, and that's continued today. Wizz Air have called what happened shameful and comes down to a lack of underinvestment. Willie Walsh, the former boss of BA, who's a really significant name in aviation, has said what's happened is poor and unacceptable, and is NATS actually the right people to run their own service? Now, NATS has defended its position, saying that its radar systems, after they went down, were back up in 20 minutes, and they have the appropriate levels of staff. Now, Martin Rolfe, the boss of the National Air Traffic Control Service, was hauled in front of the Transport Secretary this morning to explain what had actually happened. And it's fair to say he's under quite a bit of pressure. These are significant voices that are talking about what's happened. For the aviation industry, it is the peak holiday time. They want to get people on their holidays confidently and safely. All eyes will be on the industry to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Sophie.
Simon at Heathrow, thank you. A BBC investigation has found that the identities of British public sector workers are being cloned using AI by a Russian-linked disinformation campaign. BBC Verify has been tracking a Russian network which routinely creates fake videos on social media with the apparent aim of undermining Western support for Ukraine. Olga Robinson reports.
Ambulance service is the patient breathing.
This is Aaron, a 999 operator for the NHS in Preston. He seems an unlikely target for a Russian influence operation, but he's one of a handful of British public sector workers whose identity has been used to spread disinformation. It all started with a social video to raise awareness about emergency services during the Easter holidays.
Hello, my name's Aaron. I'm emergency medical advisor in one of the 999 control rooms for the ambulance service.
The video was then used to create this AI fake using Aaron's voice, which was posted by a now suspended account on X.
From one of the 999 control rooms for the ambulance service.
I have many friends who are paramedics in Poland, and all these specialists say one thing: they are terrified of the upcoming election because of the terrorist threat.
Independent researchers helped us to confirm that this video is part of an extensive Russian disinformation campaign which we have been tracking for years. In this case, the operations seem to try and spread fear ahead of the May presidential elections in Poland, which is a staunch ally of Ukraine. Previously, they impersonated dozens of media outlets, journalists and academics, but now seem to have broadened their tactics to exploit the wider British public.
Polish paramedics tell me bluntly that they are afraid of facing a situation.
We showed Aaron the fake video.
Why would the Russians choose me? Why would it be me that they've chosen out of all those thousands of videos that are out there on Facebook and Instagram about ambulance services? Why have they used my video? It's a little bit daunting.
A Finnish analytics company, which has dubbed this network Operation Overload, previously linked it to Russia and continues to track its evolving techniques.
They are trying something new. They are, throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. It's a new technique that has been added to a collection of other techniques.
According to audio experts, AI is now able to recreate the waveform of natural speech.
Well, I don't think my friends or family would have been able to tell it was fake. I think they would have probably believed it was real.
Luckily for Aaron, his fake video didn't go viral, but there is no guarantee that another one won't. Olga Robinson, BBC News.
Now, this Shetland pony has gone missing. A national search is underway to find a herd of Shetland ponies that disappeared from the New Forest in Hampshire earlier this month. It's thought the 6 ponies that roam freely in the area normally may have been stolen. The price of a Shetland varies from a few £100s to several thousand. Alexis Green reports.
These are the Shetland ponies taken from the New Forest 2 weeks ago. It's not known if they're still together or have been separated. And this is where they would normally graze. The miniature ponies are owned by a family who have, which they've done for the last 100 years. 5 of the 6 animals are branded with the initials TP and will easily be identified. The owner of the ponies isn't on social media, so a mother and daughter decided to help.
Ponies do get stolen off of the forest, but it's not very common. It's especially not common with the amount of ponies that have gone missing from the same herd.
Hampshire Police have asked their colleagues at the specialist Country Watch Rural Crime Task Force to help find the ponies. The animals are not just missed by their owners, but many locals and visitors who are used to seeing them on their walks. Alexis Green, BBC News in the New Forest.
Now, if you don't like insects, you may want to look away now, because scientists in Australia say they have discovered a new super-sized species of stick insect in a remote rainforest in Queensland. The insects are roughly 40 centimetres long and apparently they weigh slightly less than a golf ball. I'm not sure you'd want to find one of those. England got the 5th and final test of the series against India underway at the Oval today, despite some showers. They are looking to complete a series victory, even though they're now without the injured captain Ben Stokes. Joe Wilson was watching the action.
At the Oval, a lion without its heart, a shell without muscle. Well, it's England without Ben Stokes, injured shoulder. Stand-in captain Ollie Pope won the toss. Nice. England and Gus Atkinson bowling. Now, is that LBW? No. Skipper, do we call for the review? Yes. Stand by. Here's the replay. It was out. Pope had got one right. Did you see that, Stokesy? Oh, yes, in the pavilion. Of course he did. India 10 for 1.
Well, by midday, the floodlights were on. England knew these were ideal conditions for bowling, so they should be taking wickets.
12-14, Wokes to KL Rahul. One of India's most reliable batters, gone. The rain came and went and came and went. Shubman Gill, India's captain, was desperate to move. His batting mate wasn't, and Gus Atkinson aimed for the stumps. The linchpin skipper ran out, and some in the ground expressed their sympathy. Some. India's motivation was clear. Win this final test and they'd square the series. After all the interruptions, Sai Sudarshan persevered to 38, but he edged this to the wicketkeeper, and Josh Tongue had a wicket on his return. 101 for 4. Another from Tongue, even better. That did for Ravi Jadeja. Success without Stokes. Maybe it was feasible.
Well, things really have gone England's way today from first thing in the morning when they won the toss and were able to bowl in what we would call, I think, typical bowler-friendly English conditions. Players continuing actually the best weather of the day so far, with India on 159 for 6. But Sophie, Ben Stokes, who hates to miss out right now, might just be feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Joe, thank you very much. Let's have a look at the weather now. Chris Fawkes is here with some very dark skies.
Yes, Sophie, it's been a day of big downpours for southern parts of both England and Wales, and this weather watcher actually captured a shelf cloud. These are associated with intense storms. Sometimes you can see brief tornadoes from those. You can see all the showers on the radar picture then working across southern parts of England and Wales. The heaviest downpour, Cardiff. Over 10 millimetres of rain in the space of just an hour. That left roads covered with water, caused some localised disruption. Overnight tonight, though, many of the showers will gradually fade away, so most of us will be looking at drier conditions establishing overnight. Temperatures about 10 to 14 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, well, it is another day of sunny spells and showers. That said, most of you will start off on a bright note with some sunshine. It's into the afternoon that we get those showers really getting going, particularly for East Scotland, central and eastern areas of England. That's where you're most likely to come across the downpour through the afternoon. There will be plenty of sunshine coming through as well. So in those spells of sunshine, temperatures around 16 to 19 for Scotland and Northern Ireland, into the 20s across England and Wales. We'll feel warm where that sunshine comes through. Now, looking at the weather picture into the weekend, we've got a ridge of high pressure just moving in on Saturday, and that should quieten the weather down quite nicely. So most of us will have a dry day with some sunshine. It turns a bit cloudier for West Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day. Eventually, we'll start to see a few spots of rain working in here. Temperatures in the sunshine, again, still doing pretty well, 20 to 23. We're close to average, really, for the time of year. There will be some rain to come through on Sunday as this weather front pushes in. Then, into Monday, something quite unusual for summer. A really intense area of low pressure looks to be on the cards. Now, this is where the strongest winds are going to be and exactly how strong they're going to get. But with gusts this strong, we're quite likely to see some tree damage. And so there is quite a high risk of seeing disruptive weather. It's worth staying in touch with the weather forecast for what's coming our way then for Monday. Sophie.
Chris, thank you very much. That's it from the BBC News at 6. Time now for the news where you are. Goodbye.
Evening, I'm Assad Ahmed. This is BBC London. This is what's coming up. From shoplifting to phone theft, London's police commissioner promises to tackle our...
We're focusing on what matters most for Londoners, what do we need to attack most assertively, and the crime in town centres is obviously a part of that, and that's why today's announcement is a flagship part of this broader plan for the next 2 years.
But there are concerns. We'll hear from our correspondent. Also this evening, rival plans are submitted for a third but smaller runway at Heathrow Airport. We look at its viability. A posthumous degree and a plaque is unveiled in tribute to King's College student Alia Mohammed, who died when she was hit by a van while she sat on a bench on the Strand.
And join me in Mayfair at a very special fish and chip shop where not everything is quite as it seems.
The Metropolitan Police may be dealing with budget cuts, but today it announced what could be a popular measure to double the number of police officers tackling crime in the West End of London. It'll also, more controversially, increase its use of facial recognition technology. The changes are part of an effort to target crime hotspots, focusing on girls. With more, here's our Home Affairs correspondent, Sonia Jessup.
Helping himself with, apparently, no fear of any consequences, this shoplifter repeatedly targeted £1,000 worth of clothing. On Oxford Street, 6,500 phones were stolen last year. London's vibrant West End is also a crime hotspot.
I am always so paranoid. I don't take out my phone. I am so scared. I feel unsafe most times.
You make sure that everything is in your pockets. You try not to take any pictures, which is really sad because London never used to be like that.
The Met says it's targeting prolific offenders. That shoplifter we saw earlier was jailed for 28 days and fined. And in front of the media in Piccadilly Circus, the force announced it would double the West End teams with 80 extra officers and double its use of live facial recognition technology, a move that's alarmed privacy campaigners. It comes as the Met warns it will lose 1,700 officers and staff due to a budget shortfall.
We're going to make tough choices all the way through this, and there are some announcements linked to budgets that people say raise eyebrows about. But that's all because we're focusing on what matters most for Londoners, what do we need to attack most assertively, and the crime in town centres is obviously a part of that, and that's why today's announcement is a flagship part of this broader plan for the next 2 years.
But not everyone is convinced. Broadcaster Selina Scott says she was left shaken after being attacked and robbed in Piccadilly last month.
I didn't see one policeman or woman in the whole of that time. I was looking to try and find someone. London, is a beacon for the world. If people don't feel safe, and I certainly don't feel safe walking through London, where's London going to end up?
Business representatives welcome extra police, but there's frustration it's taken so long. Private security's been brought in to try to tackle the problem.
With the additional police coming through, actually that partnership's only going to get better, safety's going to improve, and our businesses will be really happy that this has finally happened, because we've been calling for it for quite some time.
They're concerned, like I am, about the reputational damage when somebody's a victim of
do that. People will say we've been asking for extra officers for years. Do that. People will say we've been asking for extra officers for years. Do that. People will say we've been asking for extra officers for years.
Well, over the last year, we've reduced personal robbery by 20% in the West End. Over the last year, we've reduced violence with injury in the West End by more than 25%.
Last week, 3 men were arrested after a store on Tottenham Court Road was targeted. Police seized around 100 iPhones, as well as a large machete. The Met says it's having to work smarter with a smaller force, targeting resources. So will Londoners see a difference?
Sonia, help me with this. I'm a bit puzzled. The Metropolitan Police needs to save money. In some areas of London, it's going to double the number of police officers. How does that even balance?
Well, what the Met would say is it's prioritising the kind of crimes that Londoners want to see tackled. But yes, how do you do that with a shrinking force? It says it's about putting officers into those key crime hotspots. So not just in the West End, but it says it's got extra 90 officers into 6 other areas where there are high levels of robbery and theft, including Brixton, Kingston and Ealing. But yes, that's going to come alongside cuts to other areas. So the dedicated Royal Parks team, the schools officers, they're going. And then at the same time, the Met says it wants to use more live facial recognition technology. It says it's having a great success with this. It's picking up more wanted offenders, picking them up more quickly. But some people are really worried by that. So privacy campaigners are saying that it's moving very fast. They want specific legislation regulating its use. Now, the Met says it uses it fairly and responsibly. But this is a huge shake-up for the Met, not least for the officers and staff as it restructures. And we'll have to see if it brings crime rates down and if it makes Londoners feel safer, because they're not always the same thing, are they?
No, they're certainly not. OK, Sonia Jess, Home Affairs correspondent, thank you for that explanation. Well, there's more on that story on our website if you want to have a look there. But still to come on the programme.
Concern grows for a mum missing with her newborn after giving birth in an underpass here in Walthamstow. I'll have the latest later in the programme.
A billionaire landowner who owns large areas of Heathrow is to put forward his own alternative plan for Heathrow expansion, including a third but shorter runway. Surinder Arora believes his submission will be practical and cost-effective, and it means for the first time there are now 2 bids on the table. But getting to this stage, well, that's been a long time coming, as our political editor Carl Mercer now explains.
London. The provision of a third airport for London.
Talking about airport expansion for decades. This was back in 1971. Edward Heath's government had backed plans for a new airport at Maplin Sands in the Thames estuary. It never happened.
But they'd be much less acute than the noise issues in... Much less.
Skip forward to 2008, and then London Mayor, a certain Mr Johnson, floated the idea of an estuary airport, dubbed Boris Island. It didn't happen either.
Heathrow is now operating at around 99% of its maximum capacity.
But a year later came this from the then Labour government in Westminster.
Mr Speaker, the Government remains convinced, therefore, that additional capacity at Heathrow is critical to this country's long-term economic prosperity.
Backing for a third runway at Heathrow, a year later, the new coalition government binned the plan. But 8 years later, MPs voted to back a third runway under Theresa May's government. It led to a legal challenge by 5 councils backed by London's mayor, and falling passenger numbers during COVID led the plan to be shelved. Until this January, when Labour Chancellor Rachel Reeves made this announcement.
I come to the decision that perhaps more than any other has been delayed, has been avoided, has been ducked. So I can confirm today that this government supports a third runway at Heathrow.
It appears though the long-running saga still has room to run.
Carl, those are the past plans. What do we know about this latest one?
Well, we've got 2, actually, unusually. Normally there's only Heathrow Airport would put in a bid. We now have 2, which is for the first time. And we know some details of this one from the Aurora Group. It's called. They own a lot of hotels, a lot of land around Heathrow, and they're saying, look, we can build a new runway, slightly shorter than the one that Heathrow are expected to put in. They say they won't have to dig up the M25 or tunnel under that, and that they can do it for £25 billion and do it within 10 years, including building a new terminal. Let's have a listen to the man behind the scheme, Surinder Arora.
At the end of the day, we're not the decision-making organisation. It's down to His Majesty's government and the regulator. We'll just put our best case forward. How can we be more efficient? How can we offer something that is deliverable, and we're world leaders, and offer that hospitality experience?
Look, Carl, between us, we've covered Heathrow expansion for years. Are we ever going to see it in our lifetime, or are they waiting for us to go before they stick their shovels in?
I don't think we'll be reporting on it, maybe,
Really?
but let's hope
Really?
it's within our lifetime. Let's try and look after ourselves.